Do you know anybody who is constantly trying to keep up with others? Well, if you do, in this video, we're going to unpack the timeless concept of keeping up with the Joneses. You've probably heard the phrase before, and I think we all have. The phrase is keeping up with the Joneses. It's one of those old sayings that slips into conversation, mostly when people talk about money, lifestyle, and appearances. The idea is simply this, that you look around at what your neighbors, your friends, and your peers have, and you feel this urge to somehow match it. If they buy a new car, then you want a new car. If they remodel their kitchen, you start to thinking your kitchen is outdated. If they post vacation pictures from Europe, Spain, or wherever, then suddenly your weekend at the lake feels small, even though you had a good time. But here's the thing, this idea isn't something new because people have been competing with each other for generations now. But in today's time, with social media, advertising, and this constant stream of comparison, the Joneses aren't just your neighbors anymore. They're everywhere now. They are now celebrities, influencers, co-workers, classmates, and even strangers. The strangers that you meet on the streets. It's like this whole world has become your cul-de-sac. And every time you scroll, you're peeking into someone else's yard, measuring your life against theirs. So let's talk about this. Let's break down what keeping up with the Joneses really means, why is it so seductive, and how it impacts your life financially, emotionally, and even spiritually. Because if you've ever felt like that you were running a race you've never signed up for, chances are the Joneses had something to do with it. But we wonder, where did this phrase come from? The phrase itself has been around for over a century now. It actually started as a comic strip back in the early 1900s. The comic strip was called Keeping Up with the Joneses, where a family constantly tried to live up to their wealthy neighbors. It's funny how something started as a satire has become a real-life struggle. Back then, it was about the house down the street, the new horse and carriage, and who had the nicest garden. But if we fast forward to today, the Joneses have multiplied 1,000 times over. Now the Joneses is in your Instagram feed, on your TikTok For You page. It's the people down the street, it's the people that you work with. They are now everywhere. But the message is still the same. You're not enough until you have exactly what your neighbors have. But I understand that we really can't escape comparison. Because we being as human beings, we're wired to measure ourselves against others. It's how we understand where we fit in. But when comparison goes unchecked, it becomes toxic. To the point where you begin to believe that someone else's highlight reels represents reality. You begin to measure your worth by the things you own instead of the person that you are. So let's think about it. Maybe you bought a car that you really couldn't afford, not because your old one didn't work, but because you felt embarrassed parking next to your buddy's shiny brand new SUV. Or maybe you went into debt to upgrade your cell phone, even though yours still worked just perfectly. You can still make phone calls, you can still receive and send text messages, you can still scroll on your social media pages. But just because everyone else around you had the latest model, that urged you to run out and go get one too. And if that little voice inside of your head told you that you should have the same thing that everybody else has, that's the Jones effect. But let's talk about money here, because this is where keeping up with the Joneses really hurt. When you chase appearances, you often spend money that you don't have to impress people that you don't know, to impress people you don't even like. And you end up with stress that you really don't need. Your credit card debt grows, your bank account shrinks, and even your retirement gets pushed further and further away because now you got to work longer to pay for all of this stuff. And all for what? To momentarily look like you belong in a lifestyle that may not even make you happy? But here's a sobering thought that a lot of people don't even think about. Many of the Joneses you're trying to keep up with they're broke too. They may be living off of their credit cards, juggling payments, being stressed all the damn time because of all the stuff that they got to pay for. And here you are comparing your behind the scenes to their stage version of life. That's not just simply unfair, that's actually dangerous. And it becomes dangerous because keeping up with the Joneses isn't just about money. It eats away at your peace of mind. Because when you live a life that's in constant comparison, you start feeling inadequate. You might even lose sight of what you actually enjoy. You stop asking yourself, what do I want? And start asking, what will look good or what will impress? And to be honest with you, that's a little exhausting. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops, except instead of getting healthier, you just get more tired. You work harder because you got to now pay for this facade of a lifestyle, and you become more stressed. And in the end, the finish line just keeps moving further and further away. Because no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you buy, somehow you always find someone that has a little bit more. And when you come across someone who has just a little bit more, you got to get a little bit more. But here is where social media also supercharges this problem. Before, the Joneses were a handful of people just right down the road, or maybe just your neighbors. Now there are millions of people online, all curating the best version of their lives. But as we're looking at all of this, one of the things that we don't see is we don't see the credit card bills. We don't see the arguments that they're having, and we don't see the quiet nights in bed when they're unhappy. They will show you the vacations, the new cars, the date nights, and the shiny homes and all of that glamorous stuff. And when you scroll, your brain tricks you into thinking that's normal, telling you that that's what everybody else has, and that's what you need to get. And if we're not careful, the result of that is anxiety, envy, and sometimes, in a severe case, depression. So when you find yourself on that treadmill, how in the world do you get off of it? How do you stop chasing the Joneses and start living for yourself? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to be honest with yourself and about your values. What really matters to you? Maybe it's financial security. Maybe it's a peace of mind. But when you know your values, you can measure your success by those, not what somebody else has. The second thing you can do is you can practice gratitude. Look around at what you already have. Gratitude is an antidote to envy. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what you have. And be thankful for what you have. And always realize and know that there are so many people who don't even much have what you have. A third thing that you can do is that you can make conscious choices with your money. Instead of asking yourself, will this impress everybody else? Maybe you should ask, do I really need this? Because a lot of people who are trying to keep up with the Joneses buy a lot of stuff that actually they don't need. The Joneses may be a family of 6, so therefore they will buy this big, expensive, nice SUV. You may only have a family of 2, so would you really need a huge SUV? The Joneses may be into outside recreation, so they will buy the fishing boat, the ATVs, the hunting gear. You don't need much go outside too much. So would you really need to buy an ATV and a fishing boat? The Joneses may be using the brand new features on their upgraded phone. But you limit your phone usage to phone calls, text messages, and scrolling on social media. Would you really need a more expensive phone? And the fourth thing, limit the comparison game. Having something bigger doesn't mean better. Having more doesn't mean necessary. When you limit the comparison game, you begin to focus more on the things that you actually need instead of the things that you need to compare with the Joneses. Because the Joneses may be able to afford all of those things. We just never know. But if you're comparing your life to the Joneses' life, and you can't afford the life that the Joneses have, then you're going to be living a life of misery trying to pay for all the stuff that the Joneses has. The ultimate step in getting off of the treadmill is by redefining success. Because success does not mean having the biggest house on the block, having the shiniest car in the driveway, the newest gadget in your hand. Success is living in alignment with your values and according to your finances. Success is a peace of mind, financial freedom, meaningful relationship, and a sense of purpose. So let me leave you with this. The Joneses will always be there. Someone will always have more, do more, and show more. But the truth is that you're not in competition with them. You're on your own path. The only person that you need to keep up with is yourself, your own growth, your own happiness, your own goals.